Okay, I can see it on the Twitter. Um, let's see. I'm still waiting for. Yeah, I see it on YouTube now as well. Okay, nice.
I'm just gonna quickly share the links and we can start in like 2 minutes.
Yes. I'm gonna share it here as well. Let's see. 1 second. Jesus, that's so many fucking shit. Cool. You send me this. Okay, I think we can start slowly. Hello everyone. Hope you are doing well. Let's talk about things. Let's talk about some of the coins, some of the markets for next 60 minutes or so. I have opened windows, so hopefully there's not going to be that much noise. Before we jump into the stream, I completely fucking forgot to share it. Um, 1 second. Um, um, that's a loud keyboard. Okay, good. Okay, hi guys. We are so back. So welcome to the next stream. We will be live for the next, who knows how long. The streams, as always, are sponsored by BonkBot. If you like to sponsor us, if you like to support us, if you like the streams, if you have nothing better to do with your life than listen us to and want to show some support for that, then you can use the links, or the link for the BonkBot using our ref will show support for that. And we once the memes are back and once the on-chain is back, then BonkBot is the best place where you can do that. So let's jump into things. So we had obviously crazy volatility over the last few weeks, or it's been 2 weeks since it was so over and we were so back. I think, and I do believe I mentioned this as well the last week, is that I do believe that kind of unfortunately volatility is going to die down a little bit after this. Usually after the events like these, you see much kind of a bigger slowdown. I bought, personally long BTC around 79k. It's kind of watching paint dry for last few days at least. It's been like 3 days since end of the week, so it's not that insane, but not that much has been going on. At the moment, I feel like we still live in the tariff world, unfortunately. So there's still that. Obviously, we got that 90-day pause, so now it's kind of more of a waiting period, and still bunch of unexpected news can happen. I'm looking personally at the moment, and I see the run has opened. The Bitcoin chart, I'm also looking at the S&P. We kind of reversed that big selling point, but at the same time hit some level of resistance, I think, where we are struggling at the moment. BTC, for me personally, although there has been a bunch of signals that I believe I shared over the last few days, few weeks, when I was kind of trying to build this long position, we had that spot order books where, on the buy side, we had the signals from options markets and all of these things that's no longer there. It's very much flat, unfortunately. The only thing which unfortunately picked up on this move up was the open interest in the last couple of days, which is obviously not always the best thing you want to see. So for me personally, I'm just kind of chilling at this point, waiting if this thing has some kind of legs, if we can move. There are like some smaller, lower time frame ranges. I think, like the 90K level of resistance, at least, something that I was hoping to see. But yeah, it's still, if you look at like intraday, and it's I kind of hate to repeat myself too much, but still I do believe the correlation is still quite there when it comes to the stock market and when it comes to the S&P. So although today we are actually kind of selling down, at least Bitcoin is selling down a little bit on its kind of own. The S&P is doing basically nothing since the open. So yeah, it's a little bit of a dry few days, and if you are boomer like me, and if you trade TradFi markets, you can probably you probably see this even outside of stocks, even outside of crypto. Some of the trades that I have taken last week are basically doing nothing. So it's been a very slow week so far for me, at least from this like a bigger time frame point of view. Wicks kind of slowed down a little bit, but it's still just doing not much, to be fair, on like a higher time frame. POV, so I'm not going to bore you that much with my analysis, since there is literally not that many things that are actually interesting. There is, I think, at the moment, after we had this rally from lows, basically from the 75, 79K lows, all of the kind of a imbalance indicators basically turned more or less flat. This is why, like, sometimes you see or sometimes when I take trades, you still get this some sort of like a signals from the stuff that I at least look at. When there is like a big imbalance in the spot books, when there is like a huge flush of the open interest, and sometimes you just take trades and these kind of imbalances keep happening. This is where usually I am way more kind of aggressive and add to the positions and try to hold for longer and so on and so forth. But at this point in time, we just kind of reverted back to the mean with a lot of things. So I would it's just like, basically, I'm sitting in this long. I obviously don't want to give this too much back. So if this thing just starts to roll over again, I will cut the trade and make a little bit of money, since that 79K entry. But yeah, this is as kind of a boring as it's going to be from me this week, because it's been not that much going on. So hopefully Runner can say something a little bit more impactful, or at least we can talk about some of the some of the altcoin situations we had. This was over the weekend, or yeah.
Yeah, I mean, BTC, we've been saying it now for a month. I've actually seen a tweet from Eric Balkunas, which I found very funny. He said that we're not correlated to Nasdaq since like start of the year, but it's quite literally 1-on-1. I feel like the correlation, I mean, just looking at the chart, right? I don't need to, it's literally correlated, period. So we're trading TradFi still. Tariffs it's getting a bit boring to me. I'm tired of reading the headlines. Not sure about you. I know you never started to begin with, but it's
Yeah,
just
no, I
getting
mean,
annoying.
yeah, the correlation is still there. I posted this chart on Twitter, which I found pretty interesting. It was basically kind of a Bitcoin against the S&P, or Bitcoin futures against the S&P futures, and also Bitcoin against the MEX, which is ETF basically for the Magnificent Seven, which are the seven highest, the biggest stocks in the US, and on both of these charts, like Bitcoin is trying to break out from like some of these range levels, making like TA on these kind of pair trades is a little bit of a mental illness by itself, but at the same time, I do really feel like, and I'm kind of standing by this, that this is really, I think, like a good narrative for Bitcoin, uh, and like this is good situation because like when we had like last sell-off, like this last kind of a big significant sell-off, which was obviously COVID, 5 years ago, and then after that was when FTX crashed and all of that, and that kind of 2022 downtrend, but that was more like a separated issue, which obviously didn't really affected stocks that much or at all. But when we had like a global macro event, which was last time, which was 5 years ago, um, everything kind of just crashed together. It was like end of the world and all of that. But right now, this is more like obviously it's still global issue because these tariffs are, affecting every single country at this point and all of that. But it's different. It's just like a different in a sense that I think this could be a good narrative for BTC, which obviously is down mostly because it's correlated to Nasdaq and it's correlated to like any other kind of risk markets um, as well. But at the same time, we saw that kind of a not that big of a sell-off at when basically a couple of weeks ago BTC stayed more or less flat, more or less flat, and yeah, it's just kind of trying to hold up, and with the charts that I posted this morning, it felt like also looking pretty good when it comes to actually like a relative, like you can view these as more like a relative strength compared to stock market. So yeah, I don't know. I just personally feel like I just am willing to kind of sit in this long trade and see if there is actually it's going to come into play this whole the fact that we just didn't sold off that much, and BTC could have its own kind of a narrative or like a own um, strength amongst all of this macro mess basically.
Yeah, I mean, really, I'm with respect to time of yours, mine, and the audience. It's just what it is. Don't have much to say. Sailor bought a little bit. ETFs are selling. Actually, like this has to be some of the lowest inflows we've seen, maybe ever. We
Yeah, I
had
saw
2 days in a
yesterday
row
there was
like a $1 million.
yeah.
Like
That's
it's just dead.
that's a bit that's a bit unfortunate because obviously that would have been kind of a confirmation of what I just said. If we could actually see inflows in the ETFs, that I think it would be a very nice catalyst, which would hopefully send it like above 90K. But yeah, since that's not coming, it's just what you see basically in those last 2 days, which is like nothing.
And why I mention it is only because TradFi rallied, let's say, 15% since the lows, and I was of the opinion, or I thought that ETFs are basically just gonna follow TradFi, which to me, I mean, clearly isn't right? Because TradFi went up,
Yeah.
ETFs went down. I'm closing the tab because it's pointless. Sailor bought like 300 mil, and I think like the biggest story of the week really is like the shitcoin situation of Mantra, and that's really kind of it. What happened? I mean, I find it very pointless and counterproductive to sit here and digest every single headline from EU and China and US on the tariff retaliations. It's not productive, and nor we are the experts on the topic. So Bitcoin, I mean, Bitcoin good, altcoins not so good.
Yeah.
Fartcoin and Hyperliquid
Yeah.
is good.
So
and that's it.
what actually happened with the mantra thing? Like I saw there were some of the kind of a debriefs of the whole situation. It's really as simple as just team kind of exiting.
I mean, look, nothing's been confirmed yet, but you have TRDR in front of you. I unfortunately don't. Just look at OMUSDT. It is there on like 15-minute chart and
They
do aggregate.
pulled the liquidity.
Yeah, just basically just went completely dead. So I've read, but it's an unconfirmed source that market makers had expiration on the call options. It's just everything, like the more I read about Mantra, even like the history of the project, it's like the red flag could not be bigger. It's like the red flag of the red flag. The project went from being a Polkadot parachain, trying to be Aave on Polkadot, to migrating to Hedera Hashgraph, to then becoming an RWA project. Like, just classic Justin Sun type of behavior. TVL of the entire protocol at 18 billion. Its peak, it was 16 billion FDV, $16 billion, and had $4 million in value locked. Like, just what? Nothing made sense about it. And yesterday, went full Allahu Akbar, minus 94%. And the CEO, the founder, is doing podcasts with his Patek Philippe watch, which is like, I mean, there's Pateks that aren't at least that expensive. He's rocking one that's like 225K. I did my due diligence on him. It's like, buddy, I mean, and he's like, he has a camera and he's like scratching his neck with a hand with a watch on. Like, dude, you just fucked your entire community over. It's like,
there's been few of the other altcoins that also sold off quite a bit. Obviously, not that 90% mark, but I saw some like follow up in some of these other coins, which is kind of funny.
Like some of the, like even ACT, but I mean, it's like, again, what is there to say? It's to me, it seems like whoever was providing liquidity just gave up. A good example is ACT. You know what it is? The AI shitcoin.
Yeah.
Like if you look at the price,
and the P as well, but the ACT is pretty crazy.
No, but even just the daily chart, nothing about it screams organic. Like, it just looks complete fake to me. And
yeah, man, spot and chill is not really chill these days.
Like I frankly find like, what is there to do by BTC, maybe like Hyperliquid, which people like celebrating on the timeline Hyperliquid bounce, but I mean, it got fucked 70% in like last 2 months before that, right? And got these like double exploit situation.
Yeah, but it's definitely one of the better looking charts at the moment. I think you already mentioned that. I also kind of mentioned it, that you can probably, until things come into easy mode again, you can focus on Fartcoin, you can focus on Hype as well, which has been the two which I think showed like a relative strength. Other than that, there's really not much. Solana bounced as well a little bit last week, which I think is pretty interesting, or at least Sol got like also it's down from the highs like 60%, 70% from the highs, so I think it's not the worst one for like a little bit of a relief rally. Obviously, issue with Solana and these like bigger market cap coins obviously is that they are so correlated. I think like Solana has like 1-to-1 correlation with Bitcoin for most days, at most weeks. So like having this kind of secluded rally, this uncorrelated rally in Sol, I don't know how likely is something like that to happen, but at the same time, if Bitcoin is gonna continue higher, I think Solana is going to be kind of following that as well. We are at this like a bigger, I think like it's like a monthly level or whatever. So
yeah, not much. I mean, Solana very correlated, relevant when it comes to performance with the meme coin risk on, if you will, and all the Solana unlocks basically already took place. There's actually a few more, but they're like smaller size. But even then, I mean, globally, we can all agree on markets are slower, liquidity is lower, even in TradFi, right? Not that much money swinging around. And when you have a 9-figure unlock, it's quite a lot of money. Like, meaning it's very different when you get $1 billion unlock in a raging bull market, which we got in 2021, versus 50 to 100 million unlock when there's not a single buyer in the order book. Dynamics
Yeah.
are going to be very different. So
Yeah. Someone is mentioning Ripple in the comments. I just this is like there are like a few coins which I like don't like to trade. XRP is probably one of them. So I don't really keep up with all the current state of things. I have no idea where the ETFs are at the moment. I think Sol.
October, November,
Yeah. So
far
it's
away.
still quite far away. Solana had futures launch on CME. I think not a single person is trading them at the moment.
Yeah, I mean it's
Good
like
old.
for everything it's been very slow. It doesn't even matter if you're a hyperliquid maxi, if you're a Popcat, Murat supercycle believer. Everything's been slow, and I think the much smarter decision here is like how to not to maybe force trades that are not there, frankly.
Yeah.
I would really maybe try to encourage people if they have any questions. I mean, but as for like take on the market, unfortunately not much.
Yeah. We are also coming into,
Earnings
the name of the
season?
stream. No, I don't want to mention that. The sell in May situation. It's pretty interesting, I would say, because if you actually look at I have a chart here. I don't know if I can just send you this on Telegram or somewhere, and you can open it.
I would dox everything, so rather not.
Okay, so
Can I find it maybe myself?
you would need to have a indicator, which I have here, and which is not actually available. So probably not. So probably we are not going to share. Or I can just quickly share my screen. If it's I can do that, right?
Share screen?
Just for this.
Yeah.
Just for this one view here. So I think you can see my window.
Yep.
This is the white line is basically a projected seasonality trend. It just like I know that most people actually when they use seasonality they just like look at like the months by themselves and say that May is bullish or whatever bearish. I think the better way of using seasonal trends and using seasonality is something like this. This is an indicator on TradingView, which basically takes the data and it just projects the future movements of the price action. Obviously, this is not going to be 100%. This the kind of a magnitude of the moves is also going to be different. Like if you look at this seasonal, like there is a downtrend here, basically coming towards the summer months, May, June, July. August, then it's shifting in September. The low of that is at 25k. If you would draw the line, which obviously is not going to really, I doubt it's going to happen. But this is pretty good thing, and we had this seasonal uptrend. Basically usually the summer months, basically starting from May, are pretty bearish, and then it's going to shift towards the end of the year. We saw the same thing. Last year, where obviously we rallied on the elections, but you can see that we started bottoming out at the early September days when we rallied towards the end of the year. So it's been pretty spot on. You can see even in 23, right, the rally happening in September. So yeah, something that I am not too stuck on when it comes to especially Bitcoin. Obviously, this is more for stuff like agriculture markets where you actually have like stuff like weather seasons and stuff like that, which is actually affecting the the crops and all of that. I know that like not a single person here is trading stuff like that, but I use it in these markets, with when it comes to like risk assets, when it comes to forex, for example, when it comes to Bitcoin. I wouldn't say it's that spot on, but still, we can see it actually worked quite well in the last in the last months in the last years. I'm sorry, when it comes to timing these kind of moves. So right now, we are technically, and this is using 8 years of data because these are futures. So we are technically coming into the seasonal downtrend. Basically, this kind of wholesale sell in May thing, is going to kick in, and are going to most likely trending down until the end of the summer. So yeah, for me as well, something that I haven't really mentioned. I think this is like I said, I took longs around 79K. I think this is like a last attempt or like a uh last attempt for like a swing long for me until we would trade basically much lower. So yeah, just one kind of a observation that I had. I will stop sharing the screen now.
Yeah, okay.
um so yeah, it's just something that's I find is pretty interesting
And do you
to
have
look at
any,
sometimes.
because a lot of people don't have the TradFi experience, can you maybe touch more on why in the fuck do big boys, because that comes from TradFi, right? Like it's the sell May walk away exists for 100 plus years in TradFi. It's not a novel concept. Can you explain maybe, I mean, it's super
Yeah, I
basic,
mean,
but the summer,
when
low
I like
liquidity.
learned about this, like I said, there is a big difference. I think seasonality, personally, it's really good when it comes to markets. When it comes to like I think originally this came from like agriculture markets where like it's like you trade stuff like wheat where there is actual like seasonal trends based on like when it's raining in some like usually these markets like they are produced in like South America, for example, and you have like raining seasons, and so it's affecting all these crops and all of that. So I think this is like where it originally came from. um, like I said, when it comes to markets like Bitcoin, when it comes to the indices, I wouldn't say it's that spot on because these markets, these kind of man-made markets are not really affected by, weather and stuff. So it's a little bit less effective. I think also and I don't do that. I know some people are doing that. Um, there is a seasonality which I think is going to be affecting prices of BTC a little bit more, and because it's more correlated to indices, are the kind of election cycles, right? Like you have a different seasonal trends based on in where you are uh, where you are in the election cycle. So you have like like you have election years, you have post-election years, you have that kind of a uh, pre-election seasonality and all of that. So yeah, but this is not something that I personally look at. To be fair, I think these things get very easily overcome by just macro in general, and what is happening now. Not that S&P rallied in 18 1985 or something like that, right? So just an interesting thing to look at. Obviously, uh, as things are looking right now, we are most likely going to see um, or based on seasonality at least, we see this like a decline or much bigger slowdown until the end of the summer, and then pick up towards the end of the year, which has been historical thing for Bitcoin. And if you look at last year, if you look at 23, I think even 22 is a little bit different because we had FTX obviously, but FTX happened in November, then we made the bottom after that, so still a little bit plays into that end of the year rallies at least. And I think even in 21, when I'm quickly looking at the chart, we obviously bottomed in summer of 21, but then we had that kind of a last push to the all-time highs once again at into the end of the year again. So it's been pretty consistent for BTC, I would say, at least. And
Yeah, I agree.
in 21 also that first all-time high, followed by sell-off in May. In 22, I think 22 was shit overall, but we had the biggest kind of downtrend from May towards the end of the year. 23, we had kind of a slowdown in this kind of a second quarter of the year as well. So yeah, it's historically, obviously, we don't have that many years. I think everything pre 2020 is a little bit useless because, in my opinion, at least, Bitcoin changed so much when it comes to market participation, when it comes to like overall kind of narrative for BTC. So I think it's a very, it's a very young market. You can only really look at last 5 years, and especially, and not only that, but there also has been like a huge change after FTX, where we had that kind of a CME open interest doing, I don't know how much, it like 5x or something in the span of few months in October. So for me, like when I look at some of these TradFi metrics for Bitcoin, it's only relevant basically for the last 2 years or like year and a half, which is like very little data for me to make some like a conclusions on that. So interesting. It's definitely interesting stuff. It's interesting stuff to look at, but at the same time, it's just like a such a small data set that it's a little bit too it's just like too hard to make strong kind of conclusions on that basically. So um, yeah, so that's that. For BTC, I think personally, I think if we have more downside on the S&P, like if the rally which we had last week basically is not going to find any follow through, and we are actually going to start to see lower prices and go to this like under 4,500 on the S&P. I think Bitcoin is going to follow most likely, and we are most likely going to hope for finding a support in like a 60K range, around where that your lower line is on the screen.
Yeah, I mean it sounds like it's boring excuse, but we're one bad headline away from Lutnik or someone. They like to talk every single day to the media. It's just
saying that the Wix topped is probably not the best thing you want to hear. I saw that headline. I think it was yesterday or when it was that like, yeah, the worst is behind us. Usually means that it's not really the case. So yeah, that's I think for Bitcoin. I think we don't really need to beat that horse any longer.
Bitcoin dominance may be an interesting thing. It just keeps going. Keeps going, meaning an altcoins usually, when it's in an uptrend like this, it's not the best time for altcoins. And again, I've said it a billion times, tweeted about it a trillion times. I think we can just skip that part. But I mean, it's interesting because when I stream alone or we have these streams together, people always bring up altcoins, and I don't even know where to start with the stubbornness of some people. Clearly the trend has been down, and
I think my point of view on this is like very complicated, and this is something that I kind of talked about during the meme coin season, that I didn't like meme coins overall and all the on-chain stuff like got so much hate from a lot of people because it's just speculation and it's this and that. At the same time though, I felt like obviously there has been like insane amount of crime on chain, but this was like a very short-lived crime because like you couldn't run something to like 6 billion FDV like the stuff which happened with Mantra. So at least you had that kind of
it was 16.
16, sorry. You had at least this like a little bit of a fairness of the coins which surpassed this kind of a point where they could be just fully racked, which was like 99% of them. But there were some of these coins which like ran and created these own narratives and all of that. With a lot of altcoins, this is much more I would say even like sketchier and more dangerous because you have the VCs, you have marketing, you have all these like teams that are pretending something, and like which a lot of people just like buy these as spot and or just like feel like they are buying a good sound projects. Meanwhile, it's just like same thing but much worse on like a much larger scale, and we could very clearly see that the Luna situation basically within like an hour happening on an altcoin, which I'm pretty sure, and obviously I know that neither of us are big fans of altcoins in the first place. I don't think when was the last time when I would actually buy a spot, when I would have like a spot position in altcoin. But yeah, I think this is a pretty dangerous thing, and it can create a lot of pain for a lot of people who actually believe there is some sort of like a real value in a lot of these things. Meanwhile, I think, and I'm kind of willing to die on this hill, is that all of the altcoins are basically just a speculation vehicles with very little value, actual value.
I mean, I got a DM earlier today that if I had 5k, what would be my bag to buy to make it into 100k? I'm like, okay, dude, much lower. Still people like that. Like,
Yeah,
I think people are
that's
fundamentally confused. Like, how long the space been around now? Like, dude, your Uber driver has been through 3 cycles now. Like, it's like my parents know about crypto. My grandparents know about crypto for 5+ years now. Like, who is what is the likelihood of you buying the gem? You're buying the next Ethereum.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, that's definitely tough, and I think like I read some posts about it, like the overall space, kind of shifted to a lot of these bubble type projects where they just get like insane valuations based on mostly nothing. So yeah, it's definitely tough. I think I kind of hated this at the beginning, and when I was trading, like people always say like you should wait for easy mode. But to be fair, like for a lot of people, that's probably one of the best advices, because like when there is an easy mode, when just things go up together, and I think this is going to happen again. Like people, obviously we have been through many of these cycles at this point, and crypto is definitely very much mainstream, and it's probably going to much harder in the future. But at the same time, people are always going to be greedy. Like I think the state of the whole kind of world, and with these trade wars and everything, this is not a landscape where you are likely to see this like a big risk on the environment. But things are going to change. I'm not saying it's going to happen this year, probably not, but there is going to be another, I would say, cycle, or there is going to be another alt season. I think, in my opinion, most of the coins that saw the all-time highs are never going to see them again. But there are going to be new things, So yeah, it's just for crypto, it really is like a kind of a waiting game for a lot of people to just get into much easier conditions.
and also, I think since you mentioned political, next year there's going to be midterms, if I'm not mistaken, which is like in November 2026. And basically, with whatever Trump is doing, the kind of the narrative or hope or cope, if you will, is that they'll try to reverse course into the midterms. And if you want to be optimistic, that is only 17 months away. Which is
No,
like
I mean,
90% lower for all altcoins.
yeah, I mean, yeah, it's tough, and like I know a lot of people, and I think this mistake, and I actually saw this um, quote tweet from one of our streams. It was like a couple months ago, I think, and I think the coin was Popcat at the time. People, saying that like we are overly bearish, and this is the perfect time to start buying the quote unquote good projects. But
Fuck
yeah,
off.
I think if I'm
It's
remembering
one of the top
correctly, this
losers
is
today.
no, like Popcat overall from that time when we streamed, and when this guy mentioned it on Twitter, it's like down another 70% basically, right? And this is, I'm not saying this to like dance on the grave or whatever. I have very little interest in getting back to people and saying that I was right
Oh,
or
I love
whatever.
it.
But yeah, I
Find me the
know,
guy.
I know.
I'll destroy
I
him.
read your tweets. uh, but yeah, my point is that like there is like very little reason And I like people ask me, from time to time, like, what do I think about this coin or that coin? For me, it's just very much similar and same when uh, I want to be buying things when I think Bitcoin bottomed up at least, or when I am very very bullish on BTC. Because I am not sure if like like having alt season now without BTC going higher is a likely thing to happen. So yeah, I would really just say like wait for more kind of a better conditions for coins, which I think, since we are in the middle of this trade war and there are a bunch of other issues happening now, it's a bit tough to say that this is really uh time to buy coins now.
But people, it's insane. Like, I don't understand. I'm really, really struggling to understand the mindset, because you can say that and people be like, oh, pussy, sidelined, and just like kind of taunting you. It's like, dude, you lost. You keep losing the remaining scraps you have left, thinking you're going to call the pico bottom of macro and QE is coming. It's literally, it's not even delusion. It's just retardation at this point. Like, how do you cannot approach allocating your own money into shit with that approach, like, oh, QE is coming because Rover, guy Rover on Twitter, like the turbo retard, it's like because he tweeted QE is coming, like Crypto Rover, his name is 1.1 million followers, tweeted alt season next, question mark, open face, open mouth. Jesus Christ.
I think if you want to get accurate macro data, the people in the crypto and especially altcoin and meme coin space that made 6-7 figures on chain are the best source for you to get that
information. QE and what is
some the ChatGPT slope explanations of why coins should go up is probably not the best source for you to get that, which I'm not saying that we are the best source to get that, because I think our macro knowledge is quite not there as well, but I think we at least are kind of a self-aware enough to not really get into that in the first place, basically. Okay, so
I mean, others BTC is making is literally about to make new multi-year lows again. I know I tweet it every single day, but I mean it's still true.
I'm going to quickly go to the toilet, so it's your stream now for the next minute or so. I'll be right back.
Oh, if somebody wants a bearish take on their altcoin, feel free to send the ticker. But me and Adam just trade mostly Bitcoin, and over the 5 to 7 years in crypto, we grew to the conclusion that we only like Bitcoin, because rest is just seems to be a perpetual at this time is not different. Yeah, I think we're just gonna wait for Adam unless there's questions. I mean, literally nothing to say. Altcoins just doing what they do best, go down. And I think one thing that people don't wanna, how to say it, what they kind of disregard is how short some of these moves actually are. Meaning, it's like the classic auction market theory, but if you look at the uptrend or the aggressive move on BTC since Trump election, Trump victory, meat of the move was done. I even did it during the stream, but was in like 18 days from here to here, which obviously it went higher, but just the trajectory, if you will, right? This is just like a truly parabolic move up. It was in 17 days, and then for the rest of the year or this few months, sure, we made higher, We went higher by 10% on BTC, but it was much more difficult journey, right? It was 2 months. We had a big correction too, but basically people are trying to manifest this price action on every single coin they hold all the time, which just isn't accurate, right? If you look at, this is not a good chart, but if you look at Bitcoin since like 2017 or so, from all these cycles above, it's like the amount of green days, these parabolic days, is very short in the span of 365 days.
It's been kind of every, very characteristic price action for Bitcoin. I think this is what also separates BTC from something like S&P, where you can see that ES generally just goes up like non-stop. Like the way that stock market is basically trending is just like these like very low volatile days, but they tend to go up, and then you have these like very, very sharp sell-offs, while BTC is usually more like a sideways, nothing is happening, and then you have the big few days or few weeks of just like insane uptrends where you can just like when you are basically unable to get any kind of a normal entry because it's just so fast and market is basically not pulling back at all.
Yeah, I honestly don't have much more to say. It's just...
Someone is asking Popcat to 0. I think
that's not what we said, but okay. Jesus.
Yeah, it's just like...
It's like basically the point is Popcat is now... It's actually, this is an old chart. It's like a rookie started shilling it like a year ago now. And yeah, this is a good chart from MXC, the best exchange in the world. Low. It's been around for a year now. And it actually has like a year anniversary now, the existence. By the time there's another parabolic leg up on everything, will Popcat be the next hot thing on the market? I think the easy bet is no. So why would I... I know that's not what Murat is saying, but as far as I checked Murat's portfolio, it's not looking good, bruv. It's like... Even I think good example here is Doge. Remember when people said it's gonna be the dog coin, while WIF stole all the shine, don't you think? Like me and you remember with Doge from 2020, 2021. We've seen that rally. Then we've seen Shiba, and this cycle barely did anything, because WIF did everything, right?
Yeah,
Jesus,
it went up like 50%, but it's not that it's like it never made new highs from 2021. It kind of tried, but we just retraced the whole thing now in Doge, which like if you look at Doge price action on like a monthly time frame, like we had these huge impulse moves, we retraced the whole thing, usually find some like basing for another impulse move, but that one is like smaller than the previous one. This is like a lot of coins move like this, and that's like a spiraling meme thing when you have these like smaller spirals basically going down. I think Doge, once again, it's coming to that October of last year basically. Doge did almost 9x from lows. Like if you would bought at exact bottom in
what did 9x?
23 Doge.
Yeah,
I mean, like...
I mean, sure, that approach is... But, bro, you just said it that somebody was quote tweeting us, bear posting memes. It's always the people that just dollar cost average into that shit. Like, how much, if any, returns they make. I mean, who are you trying to fool?
Obviously, like, you will have these, like, big returns because, like, these things, like, they are very volatile and move. But at the same time, I feel like... obviously you can pinpoint that like exact bottom, but I think it's a little bit smarter to, like, if you would buy Doge in, let's say August last year, basically when it did like 400% from the lows, right? It was after it already pumped quite a bit, and it retraced basically. it's it's better to just, in my opinion, buy into something which already has kind of a sustained, which already showed the strength. And like back then, you had that kind of narrative coming into it. Like Doge, when it rallied from last summer, I believe that was like a peak, meme coin euphoria. It was like after WIF made new highs, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it was like after WIF had this huge rally. So, like the mind share back then was obviously, it's a meme coin season, everything, everything goes up. Before that, I think one of those Doge rallies, what was with, Elon kind of heavily shilling it. uh yeah, like, if you think, like, in my opinion, if you think that, it's time for a comeback, if you have reasoning that, these things are coming back, I think, buying it now after it, obviously is coming to that kind of basing point, to that kind of a area where it first rallied from. I think it's much smarter, it's much smarter area than buying it, during this whole kind of sell-off time, and it was like in the middle of nowhere. So I think from like a technical point of view, it's definitely more sound to do something like that. But I just am not sure if we are in the overall kind of a landscape for that at the moment. Which, once again, these things, these narratives, they change very quickly. You can get a news that, tariffs are gone, everyone is happy, people get a sense of risk again, and then, you know I will be, and I think I mentioned this last stream as well. Like, at that point, I will be happy to buy, and I'm not going to care that I missed the bottom, because I think, or in my head, I will be buying into much more favorable conditions. We are going to see some, because like if you look at like Doge on like a daily time frame, and you can, obviously, like, everyone can fucking draw lower highs and lower lows and the market structure and everything. Like, we are still technically in a downtrend, from basically the highs that we made in December. Like, I would feel much more comfortable seeing one of those lower highs kind of broken through, the daily trend changing, and then, I will be happy to get in, rather than, being like, okay, I will buy now, and kind of hope for the best type of situation. But that's obviously, that's just how I trade. You don't really have
How
to.
dare you make sense?
You don't have to, because it's different. Like with, like, for example, with BTC, like, I am much more willing to, like, when stuff is just like falling down, I'm much more willing to trying to catch the knife, because I know that, you know Bitcoin is the main thing. The correlation is still there. Everything is there for that. So yeah, with the kind of a main thing, the main coin, I'm more than willing to be trying to be aggressive. Trying to get into positions early. But for what works for me, I'm never early in altcoins. I don't think I was ever early in any kind of narrative, and there has been a lot of them. There were meme coins. There were, in 21, there were all these later ones. Uh, there were, the AI coins, all those short-lived. But I never, got in early. I obviously know that that's where you make billions of dollars. But for me, I feel much more comfortable putting like more size into already kind of established trend, when I feel like, there is still room to go higher, um, in that sense. So yeah, that's just how I trade. Obviously we all can do things differently. I just, since I am mostly trading perps, since I don't want to sit in 80% drawdown and, just DCA into my, or martingale, which is a more real word for the dollar cost averaging. Then yeah, I will probably just wait for things to pick up the pace, and then be a buyer on things, basically. And also, I think worth mention that although I had some very good trades in altcoins in the past, I think most of them, at least the big names, obviously I got some like good trades in like a smaller coins, which were kind of a not really correlated to Bitcoin. But I think at least from like last year, the stuff that I traded, which was like already on exchange and everything, I think most of it rallied alongside Bitcoin rallying in some shape or form as well. So something probably worth to mention there as well. Mm-mm. Okay, so if you guys want any coins, anything, if there are any narratives that we are unaware of, I would love to hear them personally.
Yeah, me too.
Which I'm not joking. I would be really curious about that. If we are truly missing something at the moment, but I kind of doubt that. Um, it's been tough. It's been tough times to make easy money. You know.
But I mean,
You
it's.
want to
I think there's a lot of somehow crypto Twitter always just wants to make money, but then everybody loses it again, and then you get suicidal DMs and shit like that. But just not losing money is I think that's the tough part in crypto. Like with no disrespect to anybody, but making money in crypto is so easy, especially when you have like no regard for risk management, or you just ape shit. It's so easy. You'll land something eventually, but like not give it all back is, at least like last cycle I learned the hard way.
yeah.
It's like I think it's I don't know why in like a very obvious downtrend, altcoins are down 2,500%. We're in this some of the worst macro uncertainty ever, and people are asking for a daily runner. Dude, maybe just don't lose your money. I think it's good enough of a win for the day, just not losing money. But maybe I'm just getting old and complacent.
I think if you really must trade, because obviously it's kind of easy to sometimes they just do nothing, but obviously people are here to make money. They not everyone can and want to just sit on their hands for next several months and waiting for easier times. Look, I think volatility is still there. Obviously we had coins, we had the fat coin rallying in these last few weeks. I think intraday volatility is really good on some of these things. That's more than viable things you can do. Obviously you can day trade. I think talking about day trading, although Runner does it quite a bit still, but even not him is watching 1 minute charts anymore. Is still viable thing to do. I think it's just like a not really reason to cover it in these streams. I don't do it anymore anyway. Runner, I don't think day trades altcoins as well. But like if you like even the mantra, you could obviously there's like insane volatility at the lows. You could try to pick up some of the scraps for quick bounce. Like there's a lot of things you can still do, and I don't want to discourage people to just like quit and to come back once times are easier. I think during the times like these, like you can learn a lot about trading, you can learn a lot about markets. I think if you end up day trading, I think you still will have a bunch of opportunities. Probably not, maybe not even not every day, but a couple times a week you can catch small rotations for few percentage here and there. So yeah, that's
But
definitely
would
what
you
we can do.
agree where kind of the angle where I'm coming from is we've been streaming for a couple of years now. So we sometimes read the comments, we get the DMs from people. Almost nobody wants to day trade, right? They want to basically buy and sell 3x higher, right? Which is just not happening in these conditions. I think that's fair to say.
Yeah.
I mean, like I do agree with you, day trade, but people be like, why do you
stop trading and believe in something?
like I share a 4% move trade on Bitcoin and people call me a faggot. Like, okay, I mean, Go buy some with Bobcat Fart Inu. Like, okay, dude.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, like day trading at the same time, and especially crypto is like insanely hard because crypto, although now, obviously it moves during the New York session the most, so there is like some sort of predictability in that sense, but yeah, like this is like a three full-time jobs on top of each other where you basically like need to be online non-stop and try to keep up with all of these kind of a outliers on a day if you really want to make money. I did this in like easy conditions in 21, 22, and it was like extremely extremely tough, and I had like a big burnout at the end of it, and basically said I'm not going to be day trading again. So yeah, that's that. But yeah, there are ways. There are still going to be ways to make money. Like even if you would like short BTC today, if you manage to catch it somewhere around the highs, it's down almost 2% today. So there is money to be made there, right? It's just
It's not
very
sexy, right? People
very
again want 100x daily runner at 50k
yeah.
market cap to 25 mil.
Yeah, it's not the way, like especially if you have like a lower amount of money, it's not the way to uh you know to make like your P&L when you are day trading is this like a small grind, hopefully to the upside, right? But it's not like buying meme coin, which goes from 10x market $10,000 market cap to 1 bill type of situation where like you will like catch one insane trade. This is much more like a just grind basically, and it's obviously not for everybody. People look at you very poorly when you do it because obviously how dare you posting the fact that you made 2% money on 2% daily move. So yeah. Would you recommend selling all spot to trade with the funds? I would not recommend to do anything with your own money. To be fair, it's just like it's up to you. Like if you hold spot, like depends what spot are you
Like, is
holding.
it Bitcoin? Is
Um,
it Bobcat?
no,
It's,
like I think uh, I think there's like a big misunderstanding when it comes to trading. Perhaps like most people don't understand leverage. There's like a whole new black box of like a issues coming with that. So yeah, if you would decide to go on this route of day trading and trading perhaps, that I would really make sure that you know what you are doing first, because you can blow up very very quickly, and you most likely will anyway. So
but also maybe just to, like, you can use on some venues, you can use the spot holdings as collateral. Again, if it's like Bitcoin, Solana, Ethereum, and some like majors or like top 10 coins, you can in a lot of venues use them to trade perps if you really want to, which is not. Well, it might not be possible with Fartcoin, is what I'm saying, but maybe with some of the.
yeah, cool, cool. So I think we are coming towards the end of the stream. I think TLDR from this week, you know, we are at the very much same price as we have been since end of February at this point in time at least. The swings were there, but they are very short-lived. So seems to be Bitcoin is coming to pretty ugly daily close as well today, but this is still time to save it. Um, yeah, majors here. Bitcoin eats all. Well, I mean, holding each spot is probably not the best investment in this since basically 20. ETH is at the same price it was 2 years ago. That's tough.
Yeah,
That's
I
tough.
basically refuse to talk about ETH. If somebody asks about ETH, I pretend I don't speak English.
Uh, if I'm down from mid six figures to five figures, is it over in 4 months?
No, it's not. It's
Well,
not over. But you need a long
5 figures
pause.
is
I've
still
done that before. I
yeah.
don't think you
Five
have, right,
figures is
Adam?
still decent amount of money. What like getting no? I'm very boomer like person. That's probably why I'm not worth 75 figures. But yeah, I'm very kind of risk averse, and I never actually had like an insane, like this kind of like 80% drawdown or whatever. So not me, but yeah, like if you are down this much, I think you probably just held some of the coins which went down quite a bit, which makes me believe that once again it's mostly meme coins or some things
Yeah, I
which
mean,
are
what
less
else is down
liquid.
so much, right? It's just
I think for people like this, it's like really the best advice to just wait for
Murat comeback.
another kind of narrative. So yeah, like wait until things are simple, because obviously it's like you made the money in the first place. I think you can, even if you look at Twitter, you probably see that vibes are very different from what they were um 6 months ago, or maybe like a year ago. And like even these big runners, I think like Popcat, for example, coming back to that, I knew about like Popcat. I don't think I can find the chart here. It's the Maxi one. Yeah, it's not even the Maxi one, right? Like Popcat, it took quite a while to for this thing to just like rally, and I think for WIF as well, right? Like WIF got listed on Binance, and it was on the top, if I'm not mistaken, at least, right? Like it got listed in January 24, and then it had this like insane rally from 20 cents to $5. Obviously, you are not you wouldn't get it from $10,000 market cap, so probably you wouldn't turn $100 to six figures, but uh yeah, it's just like I don't know. I think just like the takeaway here is that you really need to be like, if you I think meme coins and overall altcoins are like a big social game as well, and you see it you just like you will just see the shift in the sentiment in on Twitter, right? I think the big risk here at the moment is also the fact that like Bitcoin, like all of these things are down so much, and Bitcoin is down, uh,
20%.
20% from all-time highs basically. So you need to kind of a think about possibility that Bitcoin, goes down another 20%, right? Which would take it to like 65K range, which still wouldn't be end of the world, at least for like BTC, in my opinion, right? So like you need to kind of account for the possibility that everything sold off so much and Bitcoin is still kind of chilling. And I once again, and this is where I might be completely wrong, and this is obviously just my opinion, but I just have hard time to believe that Bitcoin would go from 85K down to 60, and altcoins would just hold held and just form the bottoms. But that also would be like a big sign. Obviously, like we are both very skeptical, but like let's imagine that Bitcoin goes to that's another 20% correction, and like altcoins don't move down much, right? Like if that would be the case, I would probably change my view on a lot of things and be like, okay, this is interesting. Like this is like things should be dying and they are not. So that probably is not the worst kind of sign of um, you know of the bottom. And it's like similar to what happened. Like why I got bullish on BTC at the lows basically, because like S&P had one of the worst weeks in recent years, and Bitcoin did nothing. So when you start noticing these things, that's pretty interesting to kind of a pay attention to. But like seeing Bitcoin corrects few percent and altcoins dump 30%, there is not of this kind of a break of correlation, and then the BTC dominance going up and all of that is still, in my opinion, a sign. Like if you look outside of stuff like on-chain volumes and all of these things, where it's probably not the best time to either like very aggressively try to catch the bottom, or like hold backs in hopes for they will just miraculously, Jesus, come back.
Maybe very quickly from me on the guy who said mid six figures to low five or whatever. Like it's probably not very productive to sit. I understand that because I've done it last cycle, just like scrolling, looking at the chart all day and thinking, now it's going to miraculously bottom, regardless what the ticker is, not to be specific. But just that is unproductive use of time and it's just going to keep you perpetually like, it just is what it is, right? You need to kind of man up and suck it up, as they say. It sucks. It's definitely not over, but...
my uncle used to say.
Sorry?
Someone asked about trading altcoins to buy more BTC. I think for that, the only thing you need is look at the Bitcoin chart, which I think would be pretty telling. Of like if you look at just like Sol BTC or whatever, right? Like yeah.
Oof.
Like if you want to trade altcoins to stack more BTC, I suggest most people want to buy about altcoins to stack more BTC because people are just generally don't short. And like that's always a thing which I kind of kick myself in hindsight, like seeing after these long kind of a move downs, is that like why I'm not short everything. But at the same time, it's pretty tough to always short like 50 coins and ride it out. But yeah, if you want to trade altcoins to stack Bitcoin, then I think you need to be in the first place seeing a clean strength in the altcoin BTC charts, which I'm not sure if
there's one fart coin against BTC looks good. That's it. No, but I'm for real.
Fart coin there's not even like Bitcoin. It still doesn't have the spot on. Yeah, it looks decent, right? Yeah, it looks.
I mean,
okay.
It's very hard to find an altcoin chart that looks like this against BTC. Is kind of my point. It's a very tough proposition.
Yeah. Someone asking in the comments thoughts on Ethereum, so I will let you take that.
Have a good day and thanks for tuning in. No, I mean what?
Yeah.
Is it? Okay, let me put it maybe like to be constructive. Why a lot of the altcoins been struggling is maybe I'm washed, but I truly believe that it's Bitcoin dominance and ETH BTC are basically how do you call it? Not correlated, inverse charts, right? So if basically to keep it very simple, if Bitcoin dominance looks like this is a monthly breakout since FTX collapse. And this is just aggressive trend up. This is why altcoins keep basically underperforming, right? If you want to long ETH and altcoins, which everybody only cares about, you want this to top. And here is quite literally $1 billion question, maybe even more. How the fuck, or why in the fuck does this thing top? When and how, and what is the narrative? But if you have the answer, let me know. I'll pay you a lot of stupid money. Because we're going to make so much money. But I just don't see remember when Bitcoin spot ETF got approved? This is January 2024. I was skiing and I've made a lot of money on ETH BTC. And people told me that is the Bitcoin dominance top. I was bull posting it since then, which was at 54%. We're approaching 64%. And when to finally move on, when this thing stop, I promise you the biggest alt season you've ever seen. But I don't see a single actual logical or fundamental reason why this thing is stopped. So when this thing stop, ETH long ETH.
At the moment, obviously, what we can all do is the simplest thing is just draw lines on these charts, which I think Runner has that chart on the BTC dominance.
I'm targeting much higher here.
I think every single person has that. To be quite fair, I saw a lot of people getting molested by trying to long ETH BTC on the way down, which was it was bottom every time. Once again, I would say it goes back a little bit to that the things that I said, just wait for this to actually bottom, wait for this to show clean signs of strength and then maybe try to do it. I think And I know like people just love to, use technical analysis and disregard every single other things they mostly don't understand. And I'm not saying that I understand everything, but at the same time, I think, markets, any kind of market is moving on fundamentals, right? It's like the fundamentals and the macro and all of this is the reason why markets kind of move. Obviously, technical analysis can be there for, to help you find the levels for it and all of that, right? I think for ETH, like ETH overall seems like fucked at this point, right? Like there's been like huge issues with the ETH Foundation and all of that. I think that also needs to change to some extent, right? To just like have any kind of like a sustainable rally in ETH, basically.
I mean, I would put it this way because I'm obviously a big, loud hater of Ethereum for many years now. But even people like very constructive people like Vitalik, not Vitalik, Kobe, being like, "Hey, I give up on ETH." It's like I've tried so many times, been burnt and hurt so many times, not doing it again. I mean, you should probably try to hear why people, like very smart people, not me. I'm a fucking retard, obviously. Everybody knows that. But when smart people are giving up, why are they giving up? What is the argument? What are the arguments? What is the like? It does in a lot of, to me it feels in a lot of ways self-sabotage from Ethereum community and ETH Foundation. But hey, look, the thing is, people who are early to Ethereum, everybody's still super fucking rich. And I think it really clouds your judgment and decision making when, when you made 8 figures on Ethereum, realized PNL, you're always going to be like liking Ethereum. And look, I've heard somebody say in 2026, remember EIP 1559, Ethereum is down only since it went proof of stake, which was September 2022. And since then, it's just free falling and free falling. What is there to say about the ETH? I don't know. We need more LA or two,
Okay.
it sounds like.
Okay, we are coming back to ETH hate, so it's probably good to cut the stream. Someone asking about Hype. I think Hype is, one of the more sound projects at the moment. It still got the mind share. Obviously, it doesn't go without the issues. I think the thing that you just mentioned with ETH, it's also something which is happening with Hype. Obviously, some people obviously not probably making 8 figures, but some people made a lot of money on the airdrop, so that they are forever loyal. Obviously, Hype is still one of the kind of a most beloved projects. Obviously, I saw there has been a bunch of issues. We had the jelly situations when they kind of rolled it back. They got some other stuff as well, but at the same time it keeps getting mindshare. I think it's a venue that allows a lot of people from not eligible KYC countries to trade, perhaps, which take it as you will. I am obviously would be a little bit afraid. I think it happened to DYDX at some point that they actually started to restricting some countries, if I'm not mistaken. This is me going a little bit outside of my scope of knowledge, but yeah, the Hype still gets a big mind share. I like the exchange as well. I took some trades there. I think it's pretty good, pretty cool. I wouldn't buy it here, but I think it has to the lows underneath the $10 that were made. I think that they should hold if there is any kind of follow through. I think if you buy around, I would maybe try to long around $13, with expectations to these lows to hold. If they're not going to hold, it's going to hardest, basically. So
I can say something positive too, maybe for once.
Yeah, someone is actually making someone is actually making a pretty interesting point here that which I think is kind of bearish Hype, is that I also think that there is going to be change in the US, and we already saw it with Coinbase. They had an announcement that I think perps are going to be more available in the US. the way they are going to work now, at least for the Coinbase, I think this is yeah, I think it should be public information, but yeah, it's that they are going to be kind of a CME based perps, so it's still going to be CME contracts, so they are all regulated, but they will be trading 24/7. So it's going to be at the beginning, I think, only for Bitcoin ETH, maybe Sol, but but uh, but yeah, it's a I think that's something is which is going to change. And you saw, all these SEC lawsuits dropped. Yeah, they dropped all the sanctions. They dropped all of these things. So I think US is um, going to be, and it's probably going to be one of the bigger narratives, that US is going to be probably more kind of leaning or more open to launch, perps or something which is going to be very similar to perps inside the US, which in my eyes is kind of bearish on hyperliquid. But yeah, we will have to wait and see. Cool. So that's probably it for today. Thank you guys for tuning in. As I mentioned at the beginning of the stream, streams are sponsored by BonkBot. If we ever come back into more of the obscure coins, I think BonkBot would be a great way to capitalize on that. And obviously, if you like the streams, if you like us hating on altcoins for an hour each week, then you can show us some support by using the link that I just shared. And with that being said, we are going to catch you probably a week from now or sometimes around that time. So yeah.
Yes. Have a good day. Thank you.